Good morning. Please don't leave. I got a lot to say, and I told Allison, and Allison told me to please be brief. I can't see that, Allison. What's on that page? I just want us all to know my name is Frank Williams. I'm director of the greatest youth services agency in the whole country, in this country. And in fact, that is a fact. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to ask the people who really manage the agency to please stand, and the board. If you don't believe me, I have the greatest youth advocate. Angela, I want you, when you go back to Washington, D.C. and your travels to Boston, you let people know that here in the city of White Plains, in Westchester County, we have the greatest, most compassionate people who work for young people here in this community. And I really believe that, and I say that. And I say that because, one, we have the greatest partners here in this area, Ken Jenkins and Susie Oppenheimer and all of you. But really, this whole notion today is really about money. That's what it really means. It's really about investment. And yes, we know the stories of these young people. We see them, we walk aside them every day. We go to lunch and we see young men walking down the street with baggy pants. We see them as we go into the movies and as we go to restaurants, we see them. We see them, but we don't see their names, their faces. We don't see their hurt or their pain. It really is all about our priorities. We know the stories of disconnected youth. It's the same story that we heard about last year and the year before, and 5 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 15 years ago. Their stories have always been the same. It's about pain and hurt, and disconnect, and disengagement. It's about poor education. It's about dysfunctional families. This is not new to us. It's about abuse and poverty. It's about hopelessness. It's really about our lack of care. I grew up during the war on poverty. How many of you remember the war on poverty? And a lot of us benefited from the war on poverty. A lot of us, because of those efforts, because of those resources, we got to where we are today because somebody heard the pain and suffering of poor people. And yes, we're talking about poverty. In Westchester County, one of the wealthiest counties in the whole world. We don't lack resources, we don't. But we do lack will. We lack a moral imperative. We have the best, greatest school systems in the whole world. In Scarsdale, in Chappaqua, in White Plains. And yet, so many young people in our communities barely graduate, and when they graduate, they don't graduate to jobs or to colleges. So many young people of color barely get out of high school and they go to college and they come back home. No degree, no job. So we find ourselves right back in the same situation. And so we come back to this movie again. What are we going to do? How do we fix the problem? I thank Catherine Marsh, who's sitting right in front of me. We created a wonderful program, just a small bit of a program. It's called a culinary arts program, a cooking program, working with the restaurants in White Plains and downtown business. We give them an internship with a chef, 4-week, 6-week internship program, and then we place them in downtown restaurants. They're working in Applebee's, the Crown Plaza Hotel. And at the end of that experience, they're being employed. Now, if this can work in White Plains, working with our business community, it can work in Mount Vernon, it can work in New Rochelle, it can work in Yonkers. So the issue for us is always, are we committed to change? We do a re-entry program in White Plains, and I always tell people this stuff. Young people go into the prison system, and they look like me. They really do. They do look like me, and I happen to know them for the most part. And they always come back and say, Mr. Williams, we know that you care for us, but what are you going to do for us? And I would say that in terms of this meeting, this discussion, this room, let it not be just an exercise. It really is a call to action. It is a wake-up call. And yet, as our government, as our state, as our country, we're looking at budget reductions and how we fix the economy. We cannot leave our children behind. We cannot fix our problems on the back of our kids. We can't. All we have is our children. And our children is our future. Now, Andrew said it best. He's got kids in an agency. Parents didn't want. They didn't know how to parent their children. Schools didn't want. They sent them away. And now he's left with trying to fix the problem. And he's right. He cannot do it by himself. It takes all of us, everyone in this room. And one of the things that I'm going to do come April 1st, I got to wait until April 1st to do this. And for those of you in White Plains, you know April 1st is a new day for us. We are going to start a task force on connected youth. I'm tweaking it, Alice, and we're not going to call it disconnected, because disconnected has a set of connotation that really speaks to an issue. But we need to flip the switch to say that we're going to fix the problem. I remember, I don't know if many of you may not know Grant Reynolds, but Grant Reynolds was active in the NAACP. And Grant and A. Philip Randolph and I believe Thurgood Marshall visited President Harry Truman, I think it was in 1948, about ending desegregation in the armed services. And what President Truman said to them was, I hear you, and I feel your passion. Now go ahead and make me do it. And really, that's our charge today. That is our call, to make our mayors, our governors, our leaders solve the problem. We know the problem. We must come up with solutions. I didn't really come to talk about the White Plains Youth Bureau because I could talk about the great work of this agency. It is a frontline agency. We have a lot of programs that's helping empower and impact young men of color and all kids. We have a program called the Boys Step Up program where we focus solely on young men who are disconnected. And it really is about going out into the community and providing wraparound services, taking all of our services in our system, all of the services in the city of White Plains, and connecting these young men with care. I was talking with my deputy, Linda Poplow, as I came into the room this morning, about enthusiasm. You cannot work with young people if you're not enthused about kids. Enthusiasm means love, care, connection, and energy. We have to believe and engage in them so much that we're willing to help. We have to mobilize. We have to come together as a community and as a nation and make our children first. I had a young man who came into my office yesterday, and yes, he's been in the criminal justice system, but he still has hope. He's not given up. And he brought his itty bitty little girl with him. And like many young men, they have children, right? But he's asking Mr. Williams, I need a job. I do not want to be a statistic. I need opportunity. And of course, what are we going to do? We're going to find him a job because that's our call. And our work is a calling. It's not about the work that we do. It's a calling. We're called to serve and to make our communities better. So one of the things we're going to do in White Plains come April 1st is that we're going to create a task force on connected youth with our mayor. And then it's going to go from, as we say in church camp, it's going to go from heart to heart, and who knows what else? Breast to breast, right? It's going to go from White Plains to every neighborhood, because really that is really what is at stake. You think about the economy. You think about what it costs not to serve our kids. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted putting kids in institutions in the criminal justice system. They're squandered away. And you heard by age 25. By age 25, if we don't solve this problem, right now for our kids, what kind of nation will we be? We are in a global environment, and Andrew didn't talk about that. We're working, competing, our kids are competing with children in China, Asia, Russia. You look at our test scores in school versus other countries. We lag behind in math, science. Allison, let me know how much longer I got. She said 1 minute. She said, bless her heart. We lag behind, and that was just the reality. We lag behind countries that we should not, because we have not put our kids first. They go to school all day in other countries. They don't take breaks. They go to school on Saturday. They even go to school during the summer. And I would say to all of us on this day, given the set of challenges that our state is facing, our county and our cities, we must not retreat. We must press on. And that's the message I give to you and to Andrew and to all of us, is that we have to press on, we have to keep on keeping on, and Senator Susie, I'll be knocking at your door pretty soon. Thank you so much.